Did you know many doctors do not read Philhealth performance commitment during initial and renewal of their Philhealth accreditation? Did you know many doctors have legal problems in Philhealth because they just signed the performance commitment without even reading them? Most doctors and hospitals go about it the wrong way. So I want to make sure by the end of this video, you will have an idea that you need to read your performance commitment before signing them. The keywords for this video are the following. You have commitment, participate, Philhealth is a privilege, standards, and investigation. Now, in my 20 years experience in claims processing, I have seen doctors lose their accreditation due to neglecting the importance of Philhealth performance commitment. Now, unfortunately, many do not read it, many do not even care. Now, Philhealth conducts investigation and goes to the legal process when the doctor commits violation on Philhealth policies. Now, Philhealth simply uses the performance commitments as the basis of all the legal procedures that they do. So, for example, when you are being investigated, you will be shocked because you, as a doctor, signed a performance commitment authorizing Philhealth to review or validate violations that you allegedly committed. They will conduct thorough investigation against you, wherein they will also draft a complaint against you. You authorize them to ask you for a justification on your behavior, and you even authorize them to subpoena you to attend hearings. So, as you receive the affidavit complaint and other documents, and gradually things sinks in, and you will ask yourself silently, can Philhealth actually do this to me? Well, the answer is yes, because you signed the performance commitment. Unfortunately, you did not read it. Now, the 5 things you need to know before signing the performance commitment are the following. So the performance commitment is basically a commitment. Now, signing the document is a declaration that you are engaged and obligated to specific rules that Philhealth upholds. As such, you agreed to follow rules and you are liable and you are accountable to it. So by signing, you guarantee your commitment that you are eligible as a licensed physician, that you are a member of Philhealth, and you are a member of a specific medical society, and many more. Now, this is one courageous and funny thing. No? When you actually signed the document, you also declared that you have read and that you have understood and you are aware of the provisions of the Republic Act 7875 as well as the Republic Act 10606 and Philhealth implementing rules and regulation. Now, really, are you kidding me? Reading the Republic Act or the implementing rules and regulation of Philhealth? Now, this is where doctors get in trouble. Let's say you have a violation and you are being investigated. So if you signed the performance commitment, that means you agreed or you informed Philhealth that you have read the Republic Act and you have understood it, wherein you also have read the IRR and basically understood it. Now, why then do you have a violation granting that you have read it? So, this is a very serious statement, and this is very difficult to defend if PhilHealth filed a case against you. No, but of course, we all know most doctors do not actually read the Republic Act as well as the implementing rules and regulation. So, if you sign it, I would suggest find time to read it. Or, better yet, hire someone to explain it to you, or hire someone to explain it to the entire hospital or the active medical staff. Now, the next thing is this. You agree to participate in the health insurance program. So, this means you will abide with the provisions of law as well as the IRR, wherein you also agreed to abide on the administrative orders of PhilHealth and the Department of Health. You also agreed to abide on the circulars, memo. You agreed to abide on the Senior Citizens Act, the Breastfeeding Act, Cheaper Medicines Act, the Pharmacy Law, DOH policies, programs, and many more. So do you know the responsibility behind the commitment that you signed? Now again, that is a very serious responsibility. So you better know what you are getting into. Because if you declare that you abide by these rules, and there will be times that you cannot actually abide with these rules, then that is a potential breach on the performance commitment. So, next, you are fully aware that PhilHealth accreditation is a privilege and it's not a right. That's the third thing. So, a privilege is an entitlement that is granted by PhilHealth after complying specific requirements and certain conditions. Now, a right is an inherent entitlement. It does not require a permission nor condition from anybody. So friends, if the entitlement was granted by PhilHealth, so then PhilHealth can also take away the entitlement. So here's an example. Okay? So several years ago, several doctors whose PhilHealth accreditation was suspended complained to the Department of Health. Sadly, the complaint did not prosper because legally, the doctors signed the performance commitment and that they are, first, fully aware, and second, unconditionally acknowledged. Third, they signed that they agreed that the breach of performance commitment shall be the grounds of suspension or termination of their PhilHealth accreditation. Now, just a clarification. If your accreditation was suspended, it does not mean you cannot practice medicine. You are still a doctor. You can still practice medicine, but you may not admit PhilHealth patients. Now, let's go to the next thing. So, you are aware, you are knowledgeable, and you will comply with the basic rules, doctrines, principles, including policies, guidelines, or standards in the exercise of your profession. So by signing the performance commitment, you declared that you will follow standards. Now, this includes clinical practice guidelines. These are basically standards of care. So if your clinical management is not consistent with clinical practice guidelines, or it's totally far out, you will be investigated. Now, by declaring that you are aware, by declaring you are knowledgeable on the basic standards, yet there are fraudulent activities noted in the investigation, again, this is a potential breach of the performance commitment. Now, the last thing is this. You unconditionally agree and welcome the conduct of investigation relative to your practice of medicine on PhilHealth patients. So, what does this mean? This means that in cases that there are adverse reports or findings, you agree to fully cooperate and submit yourself to any assessment or validation by Philhealth. Now, unfortunately, this is another experience. Now, there are some doctors who signed the performance commitment and yet feel offended that they were being investigated by Philhealth representatives. And they cry foul and see the investigation as an unauthorized or unlawful act. So these doctors evaded Philhealth and subsequently were uncooperative. This reaction to the investigation, definitely a serious offense. Now, signing Philhealth's performance commitment is like signing a contract. It's an evidence of transaction. You agree to the terms, you agree to the obligation. However, I have seen a lot of doctors who are either shocked or surprised that they are being investigated and at the risk of losing or suspended due to things that they claim that they do not understand. So this happens because these doctors did not read the performance commitment. So they see it as another government document that is actually a waste of time. They just sign it and continue their thing. So, signing the Philhealth performance commitment without reading it is very foolish and it's very unprofessional. It's like digging your own grave. So, friends, learn more on the mistakes on handling Philhealth Legal. This is in the next video. This is Coach Doc Ben. See you in the next session.